Hi guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. What's the topic? Residential status. What is the importance of the residential status under the Income Tax Act? Why we have to know the residential status of a person? And first we know that a person is liable for payment of income tax on his income. Now, where a person getting an income across the world, whether he is liable for payment of the income tax in India in relating to the income earned across the world. Suppose take an example, Mukesh Ambani getting income across the world, and again Tata company also getting income across the world, and again the same situation, Elon Musk also be getting an income across the world. Now my question it is whether all these persons are liable for payment of income tax in India. Our answer will be no. Is it? Now their taxability will be depend upon the residential status. Suppose if they are resident in India, his global income will be taxable in India. Suppose if the Mukesh Ambani is resident of in India, then wherever he is getting an income, not only in India, across the world, total income will be taxable in India. Is it? And suppose where a person is a non-resident, only an income which is accrued or arise in India, only in relating to such income, he is liable for payment of the income tax. Are you getting my word? So that with this example, you are in a position to understand the essential of the or the importance of the residential status. So a person income taxability will be depend upon the residential status of a person. So now in this session we are going to discuss the residential status of the individual, HUF, AOP, BY, companies, etc. Right? Now let me start with the residential status. The first example where IPL, as you know, right? IPL matches, right? Cricket players from foreign country, right? They are playing in India. They are getting income in India. Now my question, whether they are liable for payment of income tax in India. Reason they are getting income in India, no? And again the question will arise, they are not the residents of in India. Is it clear? Now, to know whether their income will be taxable in India or not, we have to know their residential status. We have to know their residential status. Thereupon we can say whether their income will be taxable in India or not. Now, section 5 is the scope of total income. Liability of the tax of a person depend upon the residential status. Now, the residential status concept we will learn in section 6 of the Income Tax Act. Right? Now, here, where a person is an individual or HUF, where a person is an individual or HUF. Now, first we have to know whether he is a resident or non-resident. Suppose if he is a resident, again we have to ensure whether he is a resident, ordinarily resident, or resident but not ordinarily resident. Please remember, in case of an individual or HUO, first we have to know whether he is a resident of in India or non-resident. If he is a non-resident, no need to think about it. It's over. Concept is over. We will ensure whether his income will be taxable in India or not. Suppose where he became a resident, again we have to ensure whether he is a resident, ordinary resident, or resident but not ordinary resident. This type of the classification applicable only to the individual and HUF. And the remaining persons concerned, always there will be a concept of either resident or non-resident. That's it. Are you getting my word? See here, where a person is an individual or HUO, first we have to classify, first we have to know whether he is a resident or non-resident. If he is a non-resident, no issue. Suppose if he is a resident, again we have to know whether he is a resident but not ordinary resident, or resident but ordinarily resident. Is it? And the next one. Sir, why we have to classify like this? Why we have to classify like this? This is the reason. Suppose where a person is a resident, ordinary resident, resident but not ordinary resident. First, whether an individual or HUF is a resident When he is a resident, then only we will think about it whether he is a resident, ordinary resident, or resident but not ordinary resident. Is it clear? Sir, what is the difference? We will suppose where a person getting an income in India, where a person getting an income in India, whether he may be a non-resident, resident but not ordinary resident, or resident or ordinary resident, all those persons are liable for payment of income tax in India, irrespective of their residential status. If an income earned in India, whether he may be a resident, non-resident, or even he may be a resident, ordinary resident, resident but not ordinary resident, all the persons are liable for payment of income tax in India, being such income is an Indian income. Is it clear? Now come to the second point, foreign income. Out of the foreign income concern, income from PZPP, income from profits or gains from business or profession, right, and control are set up from India. In such a situation, resident, ordinary resident income will be taxable, resident but not ordinary resident income will be taxable, but whereas non-resident income is not taxable. Are you getting my word? Suppose take an example, Elon Musk, suppose he is going to start a new business in India. Suppose whatever the income he is getting from India, he is liable for payment of the income tax, being it is an Indian income, no doubt. Now whatever the income he is getting outside India, whether it is taxable in India, no, reason it is a foreign income, that too he is non-resident. When he is a non-resident, the foreign income is not taxable. The foreign income is not taxable. When he is a non-resident, only Indian income will be taxable, foreign income not taxable. Is it? But whereas if he is a resident, if he is a resident, first Indian income is taxable, number one. Number two, any income arised from PZBP, any income arised from the PZBP, it is taxable in India, whether he may be a resident, ordinary resident, or resident but not ordinary resident. But whereas other incomes concerned, if he is a resident, ordinary resident, then only his global income, even the foreign income, will be taxable. But suppose if he is a resident but not the ordinary resident, then his business income only taxable, other incomes are not taxable in India. Are you clear? Is it? Please understand the situation where a person is a resident, non-resident. If he is a non-resident, only Indian income taxable, only Indian income is taxable. That is the concept of the non-resident. Keep aside. Now resident, ordinary resident, resident but not ordinary resident, now Indian income taxable to the both persons. And the second one, income from PZBP, even from the foreign source, to the both persons it is taxable. Now other than PZBP, foreign source income, other than PZBP, foreign source income, only to the resident, ordinary resident will be taxable. But whereas resident but not ordinary resident, to him only PZBP income which is accrued arised outside India will be taxable. Other foreign incomes are not taxable to the resident but not ordinary resident. This is the major difference. This is the main point. Is it clear? This is the main reason why we have to classify a person as a resident or non-resident. Is it clear? Again, please ensure if he is an individual, whether he may be resident or non-resident. Again, if he is a resident, we have to classify ordinary resident in India or not ordinarily resident in India. So then what is the difference between these two persons? The difference will be here. What's the difference? Now Indian income concern, to all the persons it will be taxable. But whereas foreign income concern, only PCBP income will be taxable in India to the both persons. Now other income from the foreign source, if he is a resident, ordinary resident, it will be taxable. Now if he is a resident but not ordinary resident, any income from the foreign source other than PCBP not taxable. Is it clear? Right, suppose take an example. Good. Take an example. The situation one, where he is a Mr. Raju. Mr. Raju. Suppose consider he is a resident and ordinary resident. When he is a resident, ordinary resident, his global income will be taxable. Now, whether it may be an Indian income, and the second one, foreign income from PCBP, and the other income, all the incomes are taxable. All the incomes are taxable. Reason? He is a resident. Being he is a resident. Is it? And the second situation. And the second situation. Suppose where again Mr. Naresh. Suppose he is also be a resident but not ordinary resident. If he is a not ordinary resident, then what will happen? Again, three incomes. Indian income, next foreign income from PCBP, and foreign income other source, other incomes. What will happen here? The first Indian income will be taxable. The second one, foreign income PCBP, taxable. But whereas foreign source other income not taxable, only these two elements are taxable. Reason, this is the benefit available to the a resident who is not ordinary resident. This is the second one. And the third one, where a person, Mr. Lalit, he is non-resident. Let us assume he is non-resident. Once he is a non-resident, there is no subclassification. If he is a non-resident, divided into three parts. Now the first one, Indian income. Second one, foreign income from PCBP. And the foreign income other source. That is other income. Now to the non-resident, only the Indian income will be taxable. Even the foreign income not taxable, whether it may even from the business or profession, and the foreign of other income which accrued or arised in foreign country, that is foreign income, these two are not taxable. I hope with this chart easily you can understand. Suppose if he is a resident, ordinarily resident, total global income, wherever he is getting an income, total income will be taxable in India, being his resident, ordinary resident. Second situation, when he is a resident but not the ordinary resident, in such a situation, his Indian income will be taxable, and the foreign income arising from the PCBP taxable, and other income earned in the foreign country, it is not taxable. And the third situation, if he is a non-resident, only the Indian income will be taxable. Is it? Now to get the benefit, first we have to know the residential status. Even not the benefit, to know the taxability of the person, whether his income will be taxable in India or not. For that purpose, first we have to know the residential status of a person. So before computation of the total income, first we have to know the residential status of a person. Is it clear? Right. Now taxability of the income for other assessees. Now this is for an individual and HUF. For remaining other assessees, always there will be a classification of resident and non-resident only. Suppose Indian income, whether it may be resident or non-resident, it is taxable. And to the foreign income, if he is a resident, then only taxable. If a person is a non-resident, the foreign income is not taxable. Is it clear? And the next one. Right, sir, how we can classify a person as a resident or non-resident? How we can identify a person is a resident or non-resident? So under the Income Tax Act, section 6, subsection 1, first it is in relating to the individual or HUF. If an individual or HUF, first we have to ensure whether they are resident or non-resident, right? Suppose if he is a resident, again we have to know whether he is a resident, ordinary resident, or resident but not ordinary resident. In such a manner we have to classify. Otherwise we have to ensure, is it? So first we are going to discuss the residential status of an individual or HUF. Right? Now to the individual resident in India. An individual. So the residential status of an individual. Where an individual is said to be a resident in India if he satisfies any one of the following conditions. What is the first condition? He is in India in the previous year for a period of 182 days or more. That's the first condition. Or the second, he is in India for a period of 60 days or more during the previous year and for 365 days or more during 4 previous years immediately preceding the financial year. On satisfying of any one of these two conditions, an individual will become resident. Are you getting my word? What is the first condition? He must be at least 182 days or more in the previous year. Or the second condition, suppose if we stay in India for a period of 60 days or more, and again if you consider preceding 4 financial year, he must be stay for a period of 365 days in a span of 4 years. Let me explain the basic conditions to know whether a person is a resident or not. Now we are in the financial year of 2022 to 2023. This is the previous year, and this is called assessment year. We are liable for payment of income tax in assessment year now. Now, within this period, where an individual stay in India 180 days or more, when he stay in India for a period of 182 days or more, automatically such person will be a resident. This is condition number 1. This is condition number 1. If he stayed in India for a period of 182 days or more, he will be treated as a resident. Sir, suppose he went to some other purpose or a foreign tour or any other purpose, might be he was not in India for a period of 182 days. Then we have to go for the next condition. The next condition, the previous year, that is 1/4/2022 to 31st March 2023. He must stay in India for a period of 60 days or more. In the previous year, he must be in India for a period of 60 days or more, and in the preceding 4 previous years, in preceding 4 previous years, he must stay at least for a period of 365 days. So that will give an indication that 2022, 21, 20, 19, 18. Is it? So from 1/4/2018 to 31st March 2021. Is it clear? One 2018 to 31st March 2022. In between these 4 years, he must stay in India for a period of 365 days. And the preceding previous year, he must be stayed in India for a period of 60 days. If he is satisfied in the second condition, again he will be a resident. So this is condition number 2. So what is the condition number 1? If he stayed in India for a period of at least 182 days in the preceding financial year, that is in the preceding year, he will be a resident. Suppose if he not satisfied the first condition, go with the second condition. Suppose if he stay in India for a period of 60 days or more in the previous year, right, and in the preceding 4 previous years, he must stay at least for a period of 365 days in India. Thereby he will be treated as resident. On satisfying of any one of these 2 conditions, he will become resident. Suppose if he not satisfied any condition, not satisfied condition 1 or 2, then he will become non-resident. When a person became a non-resident, only his Indian income will be taxable. Is it? When a person became non-resident, his Indian income will be taxable. Suppose take an example, AB de Villiers, cricket player, right? Whatever the foreign income he is getting, he is not taxable in India. Reason, he is non-resident. He won't satisfy these 2 conditions. When he not satisfied these 2 conditions, he will become non-resident. Is it? But suppose he is playing IPL matches in India, then what will happen? Whatever the Indian income he is getting in India, only such income will be taxable. Now whatever the income he is getting from the cricket board, the foreign cricket board, it is not taxable in India. Reason, he is a non-resident. He not satisfied any one of these 2 conditions. Is it clear? Suppose consider another example, Elon Musk. Now Elon Musk also be non-resident in India. Reason, the first condition in the preceding financial year 182 days, no. Second condition, no. Then he will be a non-resident. When he is a non-resident, only the Indian income will be taxable. If the Elon Musk getting any income from India, then only it will be taxable. If he is not getting any income in India, there is no taxability in India. Is it clear? Right? So to become a resident, any one of these 2 conditions has to be satisfied. Okay sir, if any one of these 2 conditions are satisfied, then what will happen? He will become resident. When he became a resident, now we have to ensure whether he is a resident, ordinary resident, or resident but not ordinary resident. Is it? Now what is the condition criteria for this, sir? Right, we will discuss. So first, the concept of the resident and non-resident. Is it clear? Let me explain one more time. The first condition to become a resident in India in the preceding financial year, what is the preceding previous year or financial year? 1/4/2022 to 31st March 2023. This is the previous year. If he stay in India for a period of 182 days or more, automatically he will become resident. Is it? And the second situation, sir, suppose he didn't stay for a period of the 182 days or more, then go for the second condition. What is the second condition? If he stayed in previous year, that is 1/4/2022 to 31st March 2023 for a period of 60 days or more, and in the preceding 4 previous years, he stayed in India for a period of 365 days or more. On satisfying of any one of these 2 conditions, he will become resident, either the condition 1 or condition 2. Suppose if none of the conditions are satisfied, either first condition or second condition not satisfied, then he will become non-resident. When he became a non-resident, only his Indian income will be taxable, his foreign income not taxable in India. Suppose if he is a resident, no, if he is a resident, yes, his Indian income as well as foreign income also be taxable. But before considering the taxability of the foreign income, first we have to know, yes, he is a resident, but whether he is a ordinary resident or resident but not ordinary resident. Which one? We have to ensure. Right? Now we will discuss this area. Is it? So individual on satisfying of any one of these two conditions, he will become resident. So non-resident in India. An assessee who is not satisfying section 6 subsection 1 shall be treated as a non-resident in India for the relevant previous year. So for previous year income purpose, for previous year taxability purpose, he will be a non-resident. Once he became a non-resident, only Indian income will be taxable. Only Indian income will be taxable. Number one. Number two, foreign income not taxable. Is it clear? The next one. Additional conditions, section 6 subsection 6. Now we are going to learn, once a person became a resident, whether he will be a resident ordinary resident or resident but not ordinary resident. How we can identify? Now see here, if he satisfied these two conditions, he will be resident ordinary resident. He will become resident ordinary resident. If he not satisfied these two conditions, if he not satisfied any one of these two conditions, he will become resident but not ordinary resident. Is it clear? And remember, when we have to refer the condition of the 6 subsection 6, if he satisfied any one of the condition of 6 subsection 1, that is 365 days criteria or 60 days plus 365 days in previous 4 years. So any one of these two conditions are satisfied, he will become resident. Once he became a resident as per section 6 subsection 1, then only we have to refer section 6 subsection 6. Are you getting my word? Now these are the additional conditions to ensure whether he is a resident ordinary resident or resident but not ordinary resident. If he satisfied these two conditions, what are these two conditions? Whether he is a resident for 2 previous years or more in last 10 previous years, and he stay in India for a period of 730 days or more in last 7 previous years. If he satisfied these two conditions, yes, he is a resident, and that to ordinary resident. That means simply we will say that are yaar, he is in India, yaar. Just he is in India. Is it clear? Let me explain. Now, once he satisfied any one of these two conditions, he will become resident, no? Right. Once he became a resident, we have to consider two conditions. These are the additional conditions as per 6 subsection 6. Right? What are those two conditions? The first one, right, in previous year he became resident as per 6 subsection 1. That means he satisfied any one of the two conditions. What are those two conditions? Is the 182 days or 60 days plus 365 days criteria. Any one of the condition has been satisfied, so that in the previous year he is a resident, that is 22-23, he is a resident. Now in the preceding 10 years, at least he must be a resident for 2 years. Resident for 2 years, that is 22-23. Now 22, 21 and so on. If you consider preceding 10 years, he must be resident for a period of 2 years. That's the first one. And the second one, so again in the current year, that is the previous year, he is a resident. Reason is satisfied any one of the condition as per 6 subsection 1. Now the additional conditions. In the preceding 7 years, he must stay at least for a period of 730 days. If he satisfied two conditions, then he is a resident, ordinary resident. If he not satisfied, then resident but not ordinary resident. That is a criteria. So before that, first we have to know whether he is a resident or not. How we can identify a person is a resident or not? If you stay in India for a period of 182 days or more, or that is the first condition. And the second condition, if you stayed in India for a period of 60 days in the previous year and 365 days or more in the 4 preceding financial year, on satisfying of any one of these two conditions, he will become resident. Once he became a resident, now we have to go for the further conditions, additional conditions, to know whether he is a resident, ordinary resident, or resident but not ordinary residents. Here, under the 6 subsection 6, two conditions are there. If these two conditions are satisfied, then he is resident, ordinary resident. Suppose if these two conditions are not satisfied, or any one of the condition not satisfied, he will become resident but not ordinary resident. You see? Now what are those two conditions? Right, previous year is a resident as per 6.1, okay. But out of the 10 previous years, he must be resident for a period of 2 years. Number 1. And number 2, in the preceding 7 years, he must stay in India for a period of 730 days or more in preceding 7 years. On satisfying of these two conditions, he will become resident, ordinary resident. When he became resident, ordinary resident, his global income will be taxable. Whatever the income and whatever the source of income he is getting in India or foreign, total global income will be taxable. Suppose if these two conditions are satisfied, then he will be a resident but not ordinary resident. Once he became resident but not ordinary resident, what will happen? Indian income taxable. Foreign income, only business income will be taxable. Other than business income from the foreign source, not taxable in India. Reason? He is a resident but not ordinary resident. Is it clear? Good. I hope that you got a clear picture about it, right? So simply we can say, where an individual stay in India 182 days or more in previous year. Or second one, stay in India 60 days or more in previous year and at least 365 days or more in previous years, in preceding 4 previous years. On satisfying of any one of these two conditions, here please remember or, he will become resident. If your answer is no, he is non-resident. If he is a non-resident, no need to think about it. Only his Indian income will be taxable. His foreign income not taxable in India. Now, suppose if he is a resident, we have to know whether he is a resident, ordinary resident, or resident but not ordinary resident. For this purpose, we have to consider again two conditions. Number 1, he must be resident in for 2 years out of 10 previous years. If you refer the 10 previous years, at least you must be resident for 2 years. And please remember here the condition is and he must be stay in India at least he must stay in India at least 730 days or more in 7 previous years. If he satisfied these two conditions, then he will be a resident, ordinary resident, so that his global income will be taxable. If he not satisfied these two conditions or any one of the conditions, suppose first condition satisfied, second condition not satisfied, otherwise second condition satisfied, first condition not satisfied, even then he will become resident but not ordinary resident. So this is the manner of identification of the residential status of an individual. Is it clear? So please pause the video and note down, first of all, the first chart. This is the first chart which we have to note down, right? Number 1, number 2, is it? And the next one, this is a simple chart. This is number 3. This is a simple chart. Third chart. Is it clear? Now, and suppose if you want to refer an example, this is an example. This is 6 subsection 1, right? And the next one, example for 6 subsection 6, fifth one. Is it clear? So that by referring to these examples, easily you can understand the residential status of a person. Is it clear? Any doubt? Pause the video, please go through once. Reason, again we have to discuss exception to these rules, right? So first pause the video and go through once, right? So the residential status of an individual, the basic conditions are as specified in 6 subsection 1 and the additional conditions as specified in 6 subsection 6. Now 6 subsection 1 condition is for to know whether he is a resident, or non-resident, and the 6 subsection 6 conditions, the conditions given under section 6 subsection 6, these two conditions for to know whether a resident is a not ordinarily resident or ordinary resident. Is it clear? Now come back. So additional conditions, resident for 2 previous years or more in last 10 previous years, and the second one, his stay in India for a period of 730 days or more in last 7 previous years. On satisfying of these two conditions, he will become a resident. If any one of these two conditions are satisfied, he will become resident but not ordinary resident. Is it? And if any individual satisfies any one basic condition, at least one, then he is treated as a resident in India, otherwise not resident in India. These are the conditions for 6 subsection 1 for basic condition. Now the exception to the section 6 subsection 1, right? First again I am asking, what are the basic conditions to consider whether a person is a resident or not? There are 2 conditions. What is the first one? He must stay in India for a period of 182 days or more. That is the first one. And the second one, 60 days plus 365 days criteria. Is it clear? Now the first 6 subsection 1 concern, any one of the condition is satisfied, then he will become resident. Is it clear now? Now here exception to section 6 subsection 1 concern, out of the 2 conditions, the second condition is not applicable. Now the persons who are going to discuss here in relating to these persons, to know their residential status, out of the two conditions, just we have to refer the first condition only. We should not refer the second condition. Is it, who is the first person? Suppose where a person is an Indian citizen, lives in India, sorry, he is leaving India during the previous year for an employment outside India. In such a situation, just we have to refer 182 days criteria, but not the 60 days criteria. Suppose taken an example. Suppose Mr. Tarun, he got job in USA, right? Now, he stayed in India for a period of 185 days. When he stayed in India for a period of the 185 days, he satisfied any one of the condition as specified in 6 subsection 1, he will become resident, no doubt. Suppose if he stayed in India for a period of uh, 80 days only, 80 days, and suppose in the preceding financial year he was in India only continuously, suppose he stayed 1000 days in 4 previous years. Now my question it is whether he is a resident or not. Sir, he satisfied the second condition, no, that is 60 days in previous year and 365 days in 4 preceding previous years. Second condition is satisfied, no. No. The person who is an Indian citizen leaving India for employment outside India. For employment, it will give an indication that he is not willing to come immediately to India. Reason, he is not going for tourism purpose. Right, he is going for an employment purpose. In such a situation, just we have to refer the first condition, we should not refer the second condition. So this is an exception to the 6 subsection 1, first exception, right? So a person who is living in India for employment outside India, for those persons just we have to refer the first condition, second condition not applicable. Is it clear? So Indian citizen living India for employment outside India, for those persons just we have to refer the condition of 182 days or more only. If he satisfied this condition, resident. If he not satisfied, prima facie is a non-resident. That's it. Only one condition. Is it? And the second exception. An Indian citizen being a crew member of an Indian ship leaving India during the previous year. Suppose where a person is working in eligible voyage, that is nothing but where a ship is traveling from India to USA or Singapore to India, right? Where a person is a crew member, right? So when he is leaving India, in such a situation, so he is a crew member, no? Now to consider the residential status of this person, just we have to refer the condition of 182 days or more. Only the first condition has to be referred and the second condition 60 days concept not applicable. If he stayed in India for a period of 182 days or more, then only he will be treated as a resident. Suppose if he stayed in India for a period of less than 182 days, prima facie he will be a non-resident. Is it clear? And while computation of the 182 days, we have to ignore the days of the dates mentioned or specified in continuous journey or continuous discharge certificate. That is a certificate issued by the ship authorities. So second one, Indian citizen being a crew member of Indian ship leaving India during the previous year. For this person, 160 days concept not applicable, just we have to refer 182 days concept. And while computation of 182 days, now the period referred to this in sub rule 182 days, period beginning on the date entered into the continuous discharge certificate in respect of the joining the ship by the said individual for the eligible voyage, and ending on the date entered into the continuous discharge certificate in respect of the signing off by that individual from the ship in respect of the such voyage, has to be excluded. That is the day on which he step into the ship and the day on which he sign off from the ship. The total days has to be excluded while computation of the 182 days. Those dates will be specified in continuous discharge certificate, right? So the days specified in continuous discharge certificate, excluding those days, if he stayed in India for a period of 182 days, he is a resident, otherwise non-resident. 60 days condition need not to be referred. Is it clear? This is the second exception to the section 6 subsection 1. And the next one, third one, where a person is an Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin engaged outside India in any employment or a business or profession and visiting India during previous year, and his total income excluding income from foreign source, by excluding income from the foreign source, is up to 15 lakhs. That means does not exceed 15 lakhs. So where a person is an Indian citizen or a person Indian origin, who is an Indian origin? Either he or his parents or his grandparents were living in India, right? So whether he or his parents or either of his grandparents living in India or undivided in India, then he will be treated as an Indian origin. Suppose if he is coming to in India, to know the residential state of such person, just we have to refer the condition of 182 days only. The 60 days condition criteria not applicable. This is the third exception to the 6 subsection 1. What is the first exception? Indian citizen leaving India for employment outside India. And the second one, Indian citizen being a crew member of a ship and leaving India. And the third one, a person who is an Indian citizen or Indian origin visiting India and his total income other than the foreign source does not exceed 15 lakhs. In these three situations, to know the residential status of these three persons, just we have to refer the criteria of 182 days only. Is it? Pause the video and note down. Is it? And the next one. And the next exception, suppose, see here, where a person is Indian citizen or Indian origin, where his principal, that is Indian income does not exceed 15 lakh rupees, then we have to refer only the first condition. So suppose if his income exceeds 15 lakhs. Yes, he is an Indian citizen or Indian origin visiting India and excluding his foreign income, excluding his foreign source of income, exceeds 15 lakhs, then what will happen? In such a situation, where a person, in case of an Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin having total income other than foreign source of income more than 15 lakhs, in such a situation, the second condition applicable. But in the second condition, instead of the 60 days, we have to refer 120 days. Actually, for these three persons, only the first condition is applicable. Second condition is not applicable. The first person, Indian citizen or Indian citizen leaving India for employment outside India. Second one, an Indian citizen being a crew member of a ship leaving India. And the third one, Indian citizen or Indian origin visiting India and his total income other than the foreign source does not exceed 15 lakhs. In these three situations, just we have to refer the 182 days criteria. Is it? But where an Indian citizen or Indian origin visiting India and his in total income other than the foreign source exceeds 15 lakhs, in such a situation we have to refer the two conditions. Now, but the second condition, instead of the 60 days, we have to consider only 120 days. That's it. Is it? If he satisfied any one of these two conditions, he will become resident. Once he became a resident, again we have to know whether he is a resident or ordinary resident or resident but not ordinary resident. Same like here also. If he satisfied the first condition, he will become a resident. Once he became a resident, again we have to go for additional conditions under 6 subsection 6. Once he became a resident, again to know resident ordinary resident or resident but not ordinary resident, we have to refer 6 subsection 6. Is it clear? But here the beauty here, suppose if we satisfied first condition, we have to go with 6 subsection 6. Suppose this guy, the person who is an Indian citizen or Indian origin, his income exceeds 15 lakhs. But if he satisfied the second criteria, in such a situation, directly you can consider him as a resident but not ordinary resident. No need to refer 6 subsection 6. If he satisfied the second condition, that is, he stayed in India for a period of 120 days or more in previous year, and in the preceding 4 years he stayed at least 365 days in preceding 4 previous years, then he will be a resident but not ordinary resident. No need to refer 6 subsection 6. Suppose if he satisfied the first condition, to know his residential status, we have to go for additional conditions. Is it clear? Any doubt? See here, actually to become a person as a resident, an individual to become a resident, any one of these two conditions has to be satisfied. If any one of these two conditions are satisfied, he will become resident. Once he became a resident, again we have to know that whether he is an ordinary resident or but not ordinary resident. For this purpose, we have to refer the additional conditions as specified in 6 subsection 6. This is the matter over here. But now exception to the 6 subsection 1 concern. These are the 3 exceptions. In these 3 exceptions, to know the residential status of these 3 persons, just we have to refer the first condition only. What's the first condition? 182 days criteria. Is it? And the 4th exception concern, 4th exception, where an Indian citizen or Indian origin, his Indian income exceeds 15 lakhs. In such a situation, we can refer the both conditions. But the second condition will be applicable. Instead of the 60 days, we have to consider 120 days. Is it? Once he became a resident, again we have to go for 6 subsection 6. Thereby we can say that he is a ordinary resident or but not ordinary resident. Is it? But since, here the second condition, if he satisfied the second condition, no need to go with 6 subsection 6. Directly we can say he is resident but not ordinary resident. Suppose if he satisfied the first condition, again we have to go with 6 subsection 6. Is it clear? Now pause the video and note down, go through once, and the 4th one also. And one more exception also is there. Is it clear up to this part? Good. Next one. In case of an Indian citizen, see here, Indian citizen, there is no origin. There is no word of origin. Where a person is an Indian citizen having income other than the foreign source of income more than 15 lakhs and is not liable to tax in any other country or territory. He is an Indian citizen, he is getting an income in India and his income is not taxable in any other countries by his domicile or residence or any other basis. His income is not taxable in any country. His income is not taxable in any other country. In such a situation, he is deemed to be a resident in India. He is deemed to be a resident in India. Suppose take an example. You are the person, you are the Indian citizen, and you know that citizenship will be given only to the individual. Is it? Citizenship will be given to the natural persons, right? So you are the natural person. You stayed in India. Suppose take an example for a period of the 20 to 30 days. Only 20-30 days. So when you are staying in India 20 to 30 days, under 6 subsection 1, no conditions has been satisfied. So that you will become non-resident. Is it clear? 182 days criteria, not satisfied. 60 days criteria, not satisfied, but still you are an Indian citizen. And again, your Indian income exceeds 15 lakhs. Suppose your parents' properties are there, suppose your grandparents' properties are there, their investments are there, entire income, you are the person who is a ultimate person who is going to get the revenue, right? Now the such total income exceeds 15 lakhs. And suppose now you are under the foreign tour. You are staying outside India. So thereby your income is nowhere taxable outside the India. But in India, approximately, let us assume you are getting 40 lakhs of income. Suppose if the Indian government said, sir, please pay income tax on your income, then what you will say? Sir, before computation of the tax liability, first we have to ensure the residential status, no? Yes, I am not the resident of India. I am a non-resident. I am a non-resident. Sir, how you will be a non-resident? Sir, just I stayed in India for a period of 20 to 30 days only. Okay. So you are staying outside India, might be you are the Indian citizen, just you stayed for a period of 20 to 30 days, and your income also exceed 15 lakhs other than the foreign source of income, and your income is not taxable in any other countries. In such a situation, there is a deemed provision as per 6 subsection 1 capital A, you will become resident of India. You will become, he is deemed to be a resident in India. Is it clear? And one more thing, but before to come to this exception, first we have to refer the third condition. Indian citizen or person, Indian origin, engaged outside India. So first we will see 182 days criteria. If it is satisfied, here he will become resident. Suppose if he is not satisfied the third one, we will go with the fourth condition. Suppose in the fourth condition, any one of the conditions satisfied, again he will be a resident. Suppose even the fourth condition is not satisfied, go with the fifth exception. Just remember, these are the 5 exceptions. This is exception number 1, exception number 2, exception number 3. Please remember like this. This is exception number 4 and this is exception number 5. So where an Indian citizen is not a resident as per 4 exceptions, then we have to refer the 5th one, that is a deemed resident concept. He is an Indian citizen. I am not saying that Indian origin. He is an Indian citizen and his Indian income exceeds 15 lakhs rupees in previous year, and his income is nowhere taxable. In such a situation, he will be deemed to be a resident of India. That is resident but not ordinary resident. Is it clear? Please pause the video. Remember the 3 points. First, general rules 6 subsection 1. Next, additional conditions 6 subsection 6. And the third one, exception to 6 subsection 1. If you are clear with these 3 rules, the residential status concept is over. The first 6 subsection 1, to know the residential status of an individual, whether he is a resident or non-resident. If he is a non-resident, don't go with the 6 subsection 6. It's over. Suppose when he became a resident as per 6 subsection 1, then we have to go with 6 subsection 6. As per 6 subsection 6, we have to ensure whether he is a resident, ordinary resident, or resident but not ordinary resident. You see? So with these 2 provisions, we can determine the residential status of an individual. But the third criteria is, these are the exception rules. There are 5 rules. The first one, where an Indian citizen leaving India for employment outside India. And the second situation, where a person, Indian citizen or origin, visiting India. Second one, Indian citizen being a crew member of a ship, leaving India. And the third one, where a person is Indian citizen or Indian origin, visiting India and his income does not exceed 15 lakhs. In these 3 situations, just we have to refer 182 days criteria. Is it clear? There is no concept of second condition. If the first condition is satisfied, resident, otherwise non-resident. 3 exceptions are over. Now the fourth exception. The fourth exception, in case of an Indian citizen or Indian origin whose total income exceeds 15 lakhs other than foreign source of income. Right? In such a situation, his income exceeds 15 lakhs. In such a situation, 2 conditions are applicable. But the second condition is applicable. Instead of the 60 days, we have to consider 120 days. Right? If any one of these 2 conditions are satisfied, he is a resident. Once he became a resident, we have to go and refer the 6 subsection 6 additional rules to know whether he is an ordinary resident or but not ordinary resident. Is it? But again, see here, if he satisfied the second condition, no need to go with the 6 subsection 6. Prima facie, we can say that he is a resident but not ordinary resident. Is it clear? That is the fourth exception. Now come to the fifth exception, where a person is an Indian citizen. I am not using the word of the Indian origin, Indian citizen, having total income exceeds 15 lakhs other than foreign source of income, and his total income is not taxable at anywhere in any other countries. In such a situation, he will be deemed to be a resident of India. He will be deemed to be a resident of India, but resident but not ordinary resident. So again, no need to refer with here 6 subsection 6. No, refer to 6 subsection 6. Is it clear? Remember, these 5 points are exception to the 6 subsection 1. If you understand like this, the residential status concept chapter will be easy. Is it? Pause the video, note down and go through once. Right. Now the residential status concept in relating to the individual. How to determine the residential status of an individual? First, 6 subsection 1 general conditions. Next, 6 subsection 6 additional conditions and 5 exceptions. If you have a knowledge about these 3 points, determination of residential status in relating to the individual will become easy. Right? Now the first one. Let me see other points are material content. 3 differential categories of residential status as we know: resident, not ordinary resident, non-resident. Okay, so residential status, the basic conditions 182 days, 60 days, right? And the exception rules here, these 3 conditions: Indian in the previous year, up to 15 lakhs, up to total income, right? And suppose where the 15 lakhs exceeds, second condition is applicable, but subject to, instead of the 60 days we have to refer 120 days. And person is deemed to be Indian origin. Okay, and the crew member of the foreign bound ship, computation of period of stay in India in certain cases, right? For the purpose of the crew of the ship, the days has to be excluded as notified or specified in continuous discharge certificate. And continuous discharge certificate shall have the meaning assigned to it in the Merchant Shipping Act, and eligible way as nothing but from Indian port to foreign port or foreign port to Indian port. And India definition as we know, note points. And the period of stay in India is not compulsorily required to active or continuous. Now the 182 days, the basic conditions of 182 days or 60 days, continuously no need to be stayed. Even on interval basis, if you stayed in India for a period of 182 days, it's enough. And next, it is not necessary for an individual to stay at his usual place of residence or business or employment, wherever he can in India. Whether he maybe he is staying in hotel or his house or even on at the beach or hotel, wherever, if he stayed in India, it's enough. And next, while counting the number of days of stay in India, the day of arrival as well as departure are included for stay in India. Let me explain. Suppose where a person leaving India on 20th August 2023. Sorry, 20th August 2022. Flight at 11 p.m. At 11 p.m. Now, whether 20th August 2022, whether it has to be includable or excludable. If you stayed in India up to 19th August, that is nothing but 1/4/2022 to 19th August 2022. These are includable. Now my question, on 20th August he is leaving India at 11 p.m. Whether this day is includable? Yes, obviously it is includable. No need to stay 24 hours. Even if he stayed in India for a period of 1 minute, it's enough. We can consider it is as a one day. Suppose, consider another example. If we have a flight at early morning, 20th August, early morning, midnight, 1 a.m. So just stayed 1 hour on 20th August. Is it whether it is includable? Yes, even if you stay 1 minute in India, whether it may be at the railway station or at the port, seaport or airport, still we have to consider it is stay in India. Is it clear? So the same concept will be applicable even at the time of the arrival also. Even at the time of the arrival. Even at the time of the arrival. Suppose if you arrive to India at 11 p.m. If he arrived to India at 11 p.m., just he is going to stay only 1 hour in India. But still we have to consider still we have to consider on the day he stay in India. Is it clear? Right. Some more additional points. Where an individual is in India for a part of the day, then the total number of hours for which he stayed in India shall be calculated, and total of 24 hours shall be considered equivalent to one day. And the residence has no relation with citizenship, place of birth or domicile. Hence, a person cannot be resident in India even if he is not an Indian citizen. So, citizenship is different from the residential status. Citizenship will be given on the basis of the birth or domicile, but whereas residential status will be given on the basis of the stay period in India. Is it clear? Even a person may not be a citizen of India, but still he will be a resident. Simple. Where a person stayed in India for a period of 182 days or more in the preceding year, he will become a resident. And again, he may not be an Indian citizen. Is it clear? And the likewise, a person who is an Indian citizen may not be a resident. Suppose where a person living India for employment purpose outside India, right? Suppose after 2 years, he might be Indian citizen, but he is not resident of India. Is it? And the next one, individual deemed to be resident of India. This is a deeming provision. This is the fifth condition as we discussed. He must be a citizen of India. Number one. Next, his total income must exceed 15 lakhs. And next, he is not liable to tax in any other country. On satisfying of these three conditions, he will become resident of India. But however, he is a resident but not ordinary resident. Is it clear? And income from foreign sources, as you know, individual regarded as a non-resident. These are the additional conditions we discussed. Right. Next, determination of residential status of HUF, partnership firm, etc. Before discussing the residential status of the HUF, let we go with a practical example. Right. This is the one of the critical problem in relating to the individual to determine the residential status. The first one, where a person is a foreign citizenship. He is a person of Indian origin, yes, and total income excluding income from foreign source exceeds 15 lakhs. And whether he is liable to pay tax in any other country, no. And the stay period in the previous year 30 days. So out of the 6 subsection 1, no condition satisfied. When he no condition satisfied, prima facie he should be a non-resident. Let me go with the additional conditions. That is exceptions. Under the exceptions, 5 exceptions are there. First one, a person who is an Indian citizen leaving India for employment purpose. Second, the crew member. Third one, Indian citizenship or origin, income does not exceed 15 lakhs. Fourth one, a person who is Indian citizen or origin, income exceeds 15 lakhs. And the fifth person, who is a person who is an Indian citizen, total income exceeds 15 lakhs and his income nowhere taxable. These are the 5 exception points. Let me ensure whether he is covered under any one of the exceptional cases. The first one, no. Second, third one, third exception concern, his income does not exceed 15 lakhs, but still he has to stay 182 days, no. For first three exceptions, 182 days concept applicable, right? So he is a non-resident. So when he is a non-resident, no need to go with the fourth one. Or dual conditions are given satisfied. When he is a resident, then we will go with the 6 subsection 6, right? No conditions has been satisfied, hence he is a non-resident. Under 6 subsection 1, not satisfied. And again, exception to 6 subsection 1, 5 conditions are there now. Again, in those 5 exceptions, he is not covered nowhere. He is covered nowhere, hence he is non-resident. And go with the second one. Yes, he is Indian citizen. He is a person of Indian origin. Whether his total income exceeds 15 lakhs, no. When his total income does not exceed 15 lakhs, we have to refer the third exception. That is only 182 days concept applicable. Now he stayed in India for a period of 30 days in the previous year. So 182 days not satisfied. Prima facie we can say non-resident. Is it? And the fourth one, he is an Indian citizen, Indian origin, and his income, total income exceeds 50 lakhs. When his total income exceeds 15 lakhs, we can go with the fourth or fifth condition. What is the fourth condition? This is the fourth or fifth. Is it? In the fourth condition, either 182 days or 120 days, any one of the conditions satisfied, still he will become resident. Is it? Now, so fourth or fifth. Now liable to pay tax in other country? No. Nowhere he is taxable. And he stayed in India 30 days. So when he stayed in India for a period of 30 days, fourth exception not applicable. Under the fourth exception, either he has to stay 182 days or at least 120 days. Is it? When he is not covered under the fourth, let me ensure whether he is covered in the fifth exception. What is fifth exception? Indian citizen, more than 15 lakhs. Is it? Not liable to tax in any other country. If he satisfied these 3 conditions, as per the fifth exception, he will become resident. Is it? See here, yes, he is an Indian citizen, Indian origin, total income exceeds 15 lakhs. All the conditions has been satisfied, as well as he is liable to pay tax in other country. No, all the conditions satisfied, hence is resident, but not ordinary resident. Is it? By referring to fifth point, we can say answer here. Is it? And next, the D point. Whether he is Indian citizen, as is a person Indian origin, as total income exceeds 15 lakhs, again fourth or fifth. And next, liable to pay tax in other country. Yes, when he is liable for payment of the tax in other country, fifth condition not applicable. Only fourth one. Now he stayed in India for a period of 30 days. As per the fourth condition, to become a resident, either 182 days criteria or 120 days plus 365 days criteria has to be satisfied. So as per the fourth exception, see here, this is the fourth exception. No, either 182 days or 120 days criteria has to be satisfied. No condition has been satisfied, hence again he is non-resident. Now the E point, citizenship, foreign, not the Indian citizenship, and Indian origin, as income exceeds 15 lakhs. As his income exceeds 15 lakhs, there may be a chance of fourth condition, right? So fourth condition. Now liable to pay tax in other country? No. As per the fourth condition, he satisfied the 120 days criteria as well as 365 days criteria in 4 years. So he satisfied the fourth condition. No. In preceding financial year exceed 120 days, as well as in preceding 4 years, he stayed in India for a period of 365 days or more. So fourth condition satisfied, hence he is a resident but not ordinary resident. And already we discussed, suppose if he satisfied the 120 days criteria, no need to refer 6 subsection 6. Without referring to 6 subsection 6, directly we can say he is a resident but not ordinary resident. And the next one, F point, his citizenship, foreign. Is a person Indian origin? Yes. When he is an Indian origin, let we. Now total income exceeds 15 lakhs? No. So just we have to go with the third condition, if it is possible. Liable to be taxed in other country? No. Is it? And fifth condition not applicable. Why fifth condition is not applicable? He is not Indian citizen. No, if he is an Indian citizen, then I will refer the fifth condition. Fifth condition is not applicable to the Indian origin. Fifth exception is applicable only to the Indian citizen. So that just I have to ensure the third exception. He stayed in India for a period of 182 days. Yes, satisfied the first condition, general condition, right? And 6 subsection 6 rules has been satisfied. Both conditions, 6 subsection 6. 6.1 satisfied as well as 6 subsection 6 also be satisfied. Hence, resident, ordinary resident. 6.1 satisfied. 6 subsection 6 additional conditions also be satisfied. Hence, he is a resident, ordinary resident. And the next one, he is an Indian citizen, Indian origin. Whether his income exceeds 15 lakhs, no. When his income not exceed 15 lakhs, just we have to refer the third one. And whether he is liable to pay tax in other country, no. And we can refer the fifth one also, no. But his income does not exceed 15 lakh. When his in does not exceed the 15 lakh, why we have to refer the fifth one? Only the third condition. As per the third condition, to become a resident, he must stay at least 182 days. But he stayed only 85 days. And second condition also be not applicable. So that by referring to the third condition, he is non-resident. Fifth condition not applicable. Why the fifth condition is not applicable? For the purpose of applicability of the fifth exception, his income should exceed 15 lakhs. Is it? And the last one, citizenship, foreign. Is a person of Indian origin? No. He is neither an Indian citizen and he is not a Indian origin. And as well as whether his income exceeds 15 lakhs? No. Liable to pay tax in other country? No. But he stayed in India for a period of 60 days or more and 365 days or more in preceding 4 years. So he satisfied 6 subsection 1 plus 6 subsection 6. General condition as well as additional condition. Is satisfied? 6 subsection 1 yes, done. And the additional conditions of 6 subsection 6, yes. So that resident, ordinary resident. See here he satisfied 6 subsection 1 no. By referring to these 2 points. Previous year 60 days, in preceding 4 years 365 days or more. So 6 subsection 1 satisfied. Here 6 subsection 6 also be satisfied. Hence he is a resident, ordinary resident. This is an ultimate example, right? So in this session just we discuss the residential status of an individual. In the next session we will discuss the residential status of the HUF, AOP, company and other persons, right? That's all for the day. Remaining concept we will discuss next class. Have a nice day.